Hi, welcome to my video on Solve by Factoring, Part 2. Let's do some practice. Remember, when we're solving by factoring, we have to make the equation, we have to write the equation as ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. And the a cannot be 0, because if it is, you will not have a quadratic equation. And I will have the a greater than 0, and I will have no fractions or no decimals. So let's try. Again, if you wish, you may pause your video and work each of these out individually and see if you get them right. That'll be a test if you can solve by factoring correctly. Number 1, x times x plus 4 equals 3 times x plus 2. So x times x is x squared. X times 4 is 4x. 3x plus 6. So we have x squared plus 4x minus 3x minus 6 equals 0. X squared, 4x minus 3x is 1x. Minus 6 equals 0. And we're solving by factoring. And again, notice the ax squared plus bx plus c form. Notice that a is not negative, and notice that there's no fractions or decimals. So we're going to factor. The product is negative 6, and the sum is 1. So because we have a 1x squared, then we will have an x and an x. Factors of 6 to give me a 1. Factors of 6 are 6 and 1, or 3 and 2. The factors of 6 that will give you a 1 is 3 and 2. The product is negative 6, and the sum is plus 1. So we need, the product is negative 6, so we need a plus and a minus, so we need a plus 3 minus 2. Multiply. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. Add 1. So x plus 3 is equal to 0, or x minus 2 is equal to 0. So x is equal to negative 3, or x is equal to 2. So the two solutions are negative 3 and 2. Again, if you substitute each one of these into this equation, you will get the same value on each side. So you can put the 2 in, or you put the negative 3 in. There's two answers. Why? Because x times x is x squared, and a quadratic has two roots. Number 2, we have brackets. X plus 3 times x minus 4 equals 6 times x minus 1 minus 16. So we're going to solve. So let's remove the brackets first. So FOIL. First, x squared. Outside, negative 4x. Inside plus 3x, and outside is negative 12. 6 times x minus 1 is 6x minus 6 minus 16. And what I like to do is simplify each side first. When you simplify each side, there's less to transpose. So we got x squared minus x minus 6x minus 12 plus 22 equals 0. Simplify, add up like terms. Negative 1 and negative 6 is a negative 7. Negative 12 and 22 is a plus 10. And we have the factor. Notice there's no GCF. The A is perfect, which is positive. And there's no decimals or fractions. So we have an x squared, so that means we have two brackets. And notice the product is 10, and the sum is negative 7. And this product, the sum, because that's a 1, then the product is 1 times 10, so it's 10. And what's the factors of 10? 1 times 10, 2 times 5, and the 2 and 5 are the ones that'll work. So we have an x and an x. We got a 2 and a 5. Because the product is positive and the sum is negative, then we have to have two of the same signs. Two minuses. Multiply. Negative 2, negative 5 is 10. Add negative 7. x minus 2 is equal to 0, or x minus 5 is equal to 0, x equals 2, x equals 5. Again, two solutions, 2 and 5, and if you want to, you could put the 2 in place of x right here and work out both sides. They should be the same. Or if you put 5 in place of x and work out both sides, you should get the same value. Let's continue. Number 3, we have brackets, so we have to remove them. So negative 2 times x squared, negative 2x squared, negative 2 times negative x plus 2x. Negative 2 times negative 4 is plus 8. X times x is x squared. X times negative 3, negative 3x. And no simplification on each side because they're already simplified. You can't add, so we'll bring everything to the left side. And there it is, equal to 0. So the x squared became negative, and the negative 3x became plus. Add up like terms, so negative 2, negative 1 is negative 3x squared. 2x and 3x is 5x, plus 8 equals 0. So again, when I'm factoring, I do not like to have a negative in the leading term, so I'll multiply the whole equation by negative 1. Negative 1 times 3. Negative 1 times negative 3 is 3x squared. Negative 1 times 5 is negative 5x. Negative 1 times 8 is negative 8 equals 0. Now notice that the A is 3 and it's not a GCF, so I have to find a product. Is going to be the 3 times the negative 8, which is the 24. That's the A times the C, and the sum is still in the middle, column negative 5. Factors of 24 are 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. So which pair will multiply to give you 24 and add to give you 5? 24 and 1? No. It's 25 or 23. 2 and 12 is 14 or 10. No. 3 and 8. 3 and 8. Notice they multiply to give you 24 and add to give you 5. But because the product is negative, I'll have a plus and a minus. So I'll have a plus 3 minus 8. Multiply. Negative 24. Add. Negative 5. So we take 3x squared. We take the 3 and put an x with it. We take the negative 8 and we put an x with it. And notice when we do, these two terms, we put an x with them, will add up to give me negative 5. Now we do by what we call grouping. So we'll group these two together and take 3x out, and we get an x plus 1. And we take a negative out, and not only an out, negative 8 out. That gives me an x, negative 8x divided by negative 8 is x. Negative 8 divided by negative 8 is plus 1. And the binomial that's common is x plus 1 is common. So we get x plus 1 times 3x minus 8. And each factor is equal to 0. And we solve. X is equal to negative 1. 3x is equal to 8. Divide by 3. And I get x equals 8 over 3. So the solutions are negative 1 and 8 over 3. So everything's working okay. Again, notice that we have a quadratic x squared, so we have to have two roots, two solutions. And some more practice. Notice this time we have some fractions, but notice we have two fractions equal to each other, so we'll cross multiply. So 2 times x squared minus 4 equals 6 times x. So we got two fractions equal. Just a reminder of a over b equals c over d. And d, then a times d equals b times c. I could put a multiplication sign there or a dot. So we did cross multiply. 2 times x minus 4 equals 6 times x. And remove the brackets. 2x minus 8 equals 6x. 2x squared minus 6x minus 8 equals 0. And we have the 2 is coming out. So we have, notice the 2 is a leading, 2 is a factor of 2, 6, and 8. So we'll remove the 2 because the first rule of factoring is always look for the GCF. In this case is 2. So 2x squared divided by 2 is x squared. Negative 6x divided by 2 is negative 3x, and negative 8 divided by 2 is negative 4. And we have, notice now we have a 1 here, so that means if it's going to factor, we have to have a double bracket. We have to have an x and an x. What's the factors of 4 to give you a 3? Well, it can't be 2 and 2. It's got to be 4 and 1. And the product is negative, so one of these is negative and one is positive. Because the sum is negative 3, it's a negative 4 plus 1. Let's multiply. Negative 4 times plus 1, negative 4. Add negative 3. Notice now we have a 2 outside. The 2 is not used, so we can say x minus 4 is equal to 0, or x plus 1 equals 0. In other words, if you say 2 equals 0, that's impossible. So the 2 has no bearing on finding the solution. So x equals 4 and x equals negative 1. So the solutions are 4 and negative 1. And again, two solutions. Why? Because you have a quadratic, x squared. That's in the equation. And notice, again, repeat, the 2 is a constant, so we do not have to look at the 2. Number 5, we have an equation with fractions. So anytime I have an equation with fractions, I find the LCD, which is 2 and 8. The LCD is 8. So what I do is multiply each term by 8. Multiply each term by 8. What does that do? Well, when you multiply the left and the right side by 8, but it's better to put the 8 multiplied by each term because every denominator is going to cancel. So 8 cancels in 8 once. That gives me x squared. 2 cancels in 8 4. So that gives me 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times negative 3x is negative 12x. No cancellation here. 8 times negative 3 is negative 24. And we bring all variables and numbers to the left side. Done. And we continue to simplify. And 32. And that gives us, let's go up here. Again, there's a 1 here, so if this is going to factor, it's going to factor in terms of 2 brackets. X squared is x and x. The product is negative 32, and the sum is, the product is positive 32. The product is 32. The sum is negative 12. So, because the product is positive, I'm going to have 2 minus signs. Because a negative times a negative is a positive 32. Negative plus a negative will give you negative 12. What are the factors of 32 to give you 12? Well, 32 is 32 times 1. We have a 4 times 8. 4 and 8 give me a 12. 4 and 8. Multiply negative 4 and negative 8. 32. Add negative 12. So x minus 4 is equal to 0, or x minus 8 is equal to 0. X is equal to 4, x is equal to 8. So there's 2 answers, 4 and 8 works in this equation. And number 6, x minus 3 times x minus 1 equals negative 2 times x minus 3. Solve and check. Okay, we have to solve it. So we have to do FOIL on the 2 brackets. First, x squared. Outside, negative x. Almost put an 8 there then. Negative 3 times x, negative 3x. Negative 3 times negative 1 is plus 3. Negative 2 times x, negative 2x. And negative 2 times negative 3 is 6. And we add our like terms. So I added negative 1 and negative 3 is negative 4. Now I'll move them all to the left side. x in descending order. Oh, that's a plus, so check. X is positive, that didn't change. The -2 become a +2, +3, and a -6. Perfect. Everything is okay. X squared minus 2x minus 3 is equal to 0. And again, the product is -3. Sum is -2, so it's double bracket because that's a 1. X squared is x and x. Product is 3, so the only factors of 3 are 3 and 1. The product is negative and the sum is positive. It has to be a negative and a positive. So it has to be a -3 plus 1. Multiply, -3. Add, -2. X minus 3 is equal to 0. Or x plus 1 is equal to 0. So x is equal to 3. X is equal to -1. So now we'll sub in this x equals 3. We're going to sub x equals 3 into the equation. So the equation is x minus 3, x minus 1, -2 times x minus 3. So I'm going to put -3 in. -3 is going in the place of x. We have to do the brackets first. Inside the brackets, 0, PEMDAS, P-E-M-D-A-S, and that's a 2, and that's a 0. 0 times 2 is 0. -2 times 0 is 0. So we checked. 3 is a root. Now we'll check to see if x minus 1 is true. Again, you could make a mistake. So we write down the equation, x minus 3, x minus 1, -2x times x minus 3. There's the equation. So x is -1. So -1 is going in the place of x. Done. -1, -1, -1. Simplify. PEMDAS inside the brackets. -4 inside the brackets, -2 inside the brackets, -4. -4 times -2 is 8. -2 times -4 is 8. True. So we've checked, we solved, and we verified that both equations are true. Again, when you're doing a quiz, sometimes the checking is done after you finish your tests and you get it all completed. And that's a review of factoring, which is one of the ways of solving a quadratic equation. And if you like my video, click the like button, the subscribe button, the notification bell, because there's more videos coming. Visit my website, www.mathfullyexplained.com, to find more information about me, my videos, and the content. And that's the content that's on my YouTube channel called Math Fully Explained. Thank you for viewing my video. Bye-bye.